everyone, and welcome to this week's video. So I guess I should address the fact that all of my hair is chopped off. That is not the subject of today's video, but I will be making a video, I think, next week on the whole experience of cutting all my hair off. So yeah, it's definitely a change, but I really do enjoy it. Oh, hello there. So yeah, I just want to get that out of the way. But today's video is actually going to be a book wrap up. So a big goal of mine this year is to read more than I did last year. I think last year I did about 25 books, which isn't necessarily terrible, but for me, I used to read like 150 books a year. I mean, granted, they were smaller books when I was younger, but I really love reading, and I just really want to put it at the forefront of my goals this year. So I figure every month a good motivation would be to do a monthly wrap-up, because I do consistently read throughout the year, but last year I just didn't worry that much about the number. So this year I'd like to crank it up. I'd like to get to 50, 75 maybe if we're lucky. But this past month I read some really good books, a lot of rereads, but good books nonetheless, so I thought I'd talk about them. So, one of the first books I read this year, started my year off on an amazing note, might I add, is Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reid. This is just the dust jacket because I borrowed it from my friend Madison, but wow, what an incredible book. This is actually a debut novel from Kylie Reid, and chef's kiss. I mean, this had everything that I love about reading in it. More, and also more. So pretty much it follows the life of a 20-something-year-old who kind of isn't doing anything. And not in a bad way. She just hasn't found her direction in life right now, and is kind of in one of those in-between jobs. So she fell into this nannying job, and she works for this wealthy family and watches their daughter, and pretty much she's been with this job and just doesn't really know where her life's going, and some crazy stuff happens. She also meets a guy, and all this stuff kind of happens, but nothing outrageous, you know, just real life things that kind of starts to put everything in perspective for her. And I just love this so much. The main character is black, so it deals with a lot of racial injustices that happen, along with a lot of systematic issues when it comes to wealth, and it just made you see the world for what it is. And I really love that about this book, because you had moments of being like, oh my gosh, and you know, it's very witty, it's very funny, and the main character, I love her. But then you had these other moments where pretty much every character is extremely flawed, but also they have moments of being like, well, they're not a bad person, but they shouldn't be doing this. And it was just so good. And I'm also a nanny in my 20s, and there was actually, in the beginning of the book, there's this one line about how she, oh hello, how she's going out to a club and she's dressed in a mini dress and all this stuff, and then her boss calls her, and then she's like back in reality of her day job dealing with diapers and news and all this stuff. And so in that way it was very relatable. But I also just really liked the fact that it was a more diverse book. I'm really trying this year to read more diversely. You know, sometimes we pick up all these books and we don't realize that all the characters are white and from middle class families. So I really enjoyed this, and this is a debut novel. This author is going to be huge, so everyone go pick up this book, please. And also thank you, Maddie, for letting me borrow it. Okay, so the other book that I read this past month in January was actually a reread. It is Stargirl by Jerry Spinelli. I decided to reread it because they're making a movie and the trailer came out and all this stuff. But this was one of my favorite books growing up, and rereading it, I fell in love with it even more. It is so pure, just about a magical character named Stargirl, and more so about the boy character in it, who kind of has to come to terms with trying to decide if he wants to follow the crowd and worry about what other people think, or if he wants to do what he wants in his heart. And Stargirl is kind of the personification of a dream. You know, she does what she wants, and she names herself what she wants, and it's just so sweet. And so, I mean, they're in high school, but it's so innocent, and I just love that. And I don't know, it makes you feel so good. Like, and she also has a cute little pet rat. So yeah, I figure most people have probably read this, but if you haven't, pick it up. You can take like a day to read it. It's a children's book, but so good. I really kind of like want a tattoo of the cover because it really is one of my favorites. So the next book that I read, which again completely recommend, this month was filled with amazing books, was Ali Wong, Dear Girls. So if you don't know who Ali Wong is, go on Netflix, click some comedy specials, because you will be dying laughing. This woman is hilarious. And not only is she hilarious, but she's smart. She's so intelligent. And she's intelligent in the way of being able to observe people and just, you know, say what's on her mind. And I don't know. I'm just kind of freaking in love with Ali Wong. And also all of her work. Like, I think she wrote for Fresh Off the Boat, which is an amazing show. And then also Always Be My Maybe, which is a Netflix movie. And she's just an incredible entertainer and an incredible woman in general. But this book was written for her actual children. She kind of had a wild youth, and she thought it'd be a good idea to write a book to her kids, so when they're older they can read about who their mom was before they were, you know, they called her mom. Which I think is a brilliant idea, and I really love it. But she turned it into a book for all girls to read, and it was so good. It's so wonderful and so sweet. She talks a lot about her husband and their relationship and their partnership with one another, which I thought was very progressive relationship, but also a very inspiring one. I feel like not enough people talk about the realness, and I don't know. She's just amazing. I just freaking love her. But yes, so I read this probably in like 2 days. It was so good, and I kind of hope she writes more, and I'm waiting for another comedy special. I don't know. She is coming to New Orleans though, so I'm trying to get tickets to that, I think in like 2 months. But yeah, definitely recommend Dear Girls by Ali Wong. Once again, just a dust jacket thing because my friend Madison let me borrow it. The next book I read this month was the 5th Harry Potter book, Harry Potter and the Order of Phoenix. This is another reread. I'm rereading the whole series. And my original goal was to finish them before 2018, but the holidays snatched any reading time I had away from me. So, yeah, I'm on book 5. Well, now I just started book 6 today. But, yeah, I think this is going to be my 3rd time rereading Harry Potter, which I don't know is like, that's good or sad. But this still continues to be one of my favorite books to reread, mainly because I love the Goblet of Fire for the world and everything, and you know, the later books you get so much more detail than the movie, so it makes it that much better. But personally for me, although Mr. Daniel Radcliffe looked amazing in movie number 5, I think that the movie itself, compared to the book in like storytelling wise, was the worst. I think all the other movies did a great job following the books. I just think the 5th one, we missed out on so much crucial information that helps you understand more about Horcruxes and the relationship between Harry and Voldemort, and I just feel like that wasn't translated well in the movie. So that's why I love reading the 5th book, because you get all that detail about like him going to Occlumency with Snape, and just more about their connection. And yeah, I just think it's one of the better books, worst movies. in my opinion. But also, rereading this, I wish that in the 5th movie they would have put in the scene when Franz, I can't say his name, but the centaur who comes to teach divination, I wish they'd put in the scene where he was teaching, because the way they described it in the book, it would just be so incredible to see on screen, and that wasn't really touched on, you know. But I know that they have a lot of detail in here, so they can't really hit everything. But I wouldn't have mind this book being split into 2 movies, in my opinion. But yeah, so I read that. Now, the last book I read this past month, I actually don't have a physical copy on me because, again, I borrowed it from my friend Madison, but I read He's Just Not That Into You, and I don't know the name of the author. I know it's the people who, like, used to write on Sex and the City. And ladies and gentlemen, that book slapped me in the face. It's because, like, it's an early 2000s book, so the jargon and, like, it's not like Miss Ali Wong's book where it's very progressive and all this stuff, but it also kind of came for you throughout the book, because it was like people wrote in questions and then the writers would, you know, like a Dear whatever column, like advice column, and I just felt some of these messages, and they were not kind. You know, they weren't being subtle about, oh, well, you shouldn't talk to him. No, it was, you're doing wrong. Don't talk to this man. He doesn't like you. But it was very good, and I think a great way to start the energy of 2020, because I'm 23, single as a dollar bill, and which is fine. But I've been talking to the wrong people, you know, and this year, I'd rather have nobody than somebody who doesn't really care, you know. So I think that book was really great to kind of start off the year in the right mindset of, like, we are all exuding Rihanna type energy where these boys need to work for it, and right now the only man in my life is Harry the cat. So you know, that was a good way to start off the year. But I definitely do recommend it. It is very funny, especially if you like Sex and the City. It's got the same kind of tone. But yeah, so that's all the books I read in January. Can't believe the first month of the year is already over, but I feel so good about this year, and I feel so happy. And if you've known anything that's gone on in my life the past couple of years, I'm pretty stoked about that. So, yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I hope y'all are having an amazing 2020 so far. And let me know if y'all have any book recommendations in the comments below, because I'm looking to read and read and read. And also, I will be making a video about my new haircut. So if you have any questions or anything you want me to talk about in that video, put that in the comments below as well. I love that I always say this as if I have like 100,000 viewers when it's just like 12 people, but that's okay. So yeah, until next time, I'll see y'all later. Bye.